So Forest House is up on Glendower. If you're in Hollywood, it's kind of up where the Greek Theater is. And if you're a film buff, it's where the Griswold house is from the first movie. But this is Forrest Ackerman's curb appeal right here. Beautiful, big, tall plants and trees inside his property. This big, almost horror-looking gate. You can tell that's right out of Frankenstein almost. And the sconces. He was more than just the editor of Famous Monsters of Filmland. He was really considered to be kind of the horror sci-fi historian of the world. He was the first cosplayer. He got Ray Bradbury into the local scene here. So he was a big deal in the horror sci-fi community, and a lot of what goes on today at conventions, he was the originator of. All right, let's do this. So what's interesting is, as we were I was researching this, we noticed we found like a photo. This retaining wall that's out here, when he originally had the property, wasn't there. So when I came to visit, it was, I believe. So he probably obviously put it there, but it wasn't always. You could actually see the house without all that there in the photos. And I'll show you those as we go through here. So the realtor's actually helping us do this, and he was mentioning that Forey liked to bring people in through a side entrance downstairs, and then they would work their way up. But when I came here, I remember coming through the front door. The day that I came here, Forrest loved to eat at the International House of Pancakes here. It's about a block from his house, or just a few blocks from his house. So much so that he left 3 of the waitresses an inheritance in his will. But when we called, he was there eating and then met us up here. There was a welcome to the Ackermansion sign. I remember being on one of these signs, and it was like a welcome mat out here. So let's go on in. I also remember it was yellow shag carpet. I remember being blown away because this staircase was just full-on yellow shag carpet. Now, at the time that I came here, Forrest had lived here for decades, and he was a literary agent for 200 artists, including Ed Wood. He hosted tons of parties here with like Boris Karloff, Vincent Price, people like that. And so he had moved over to a smaller place because he was aging. So at the time, the walls were covered from head to toe in artwork, like old movie posters and things like that. I'll show you a matchup photo in here to show you what it looked like at the time. But they were slowly taking things down off the walls. He had really incredible memorabilia, and his favorite pieces that he was very drawn to, he took over to the new house. So over there, which used to be here, I got to try on Bela Lugosi's robe from Plan 9. He had one of Lon Chaney's top hats. He had the teeth from Lon Chaney, the false teeth from one of the movies. He had a lot of memorabilia, and he had taken those over there. But when I say that the walls were covered here, I'm not exaggerating. It literally, head to toe, there was stuff everywhere. He collected everything, and he collected it in a time where, at the time, it wasn't a thing. People weren't saving this kind of stuff for movies, so he got a lot of it for very cheap, I understood at the time. That's kind of what he told me anyway. Said he had friends that worked in movie prop departments and things like that, and they would give him stuff. So look at this property. This is just amazing. They told me that the property sold a couple of times. We came back here and vlogged it in 2017, and it sold a couple of times throughout the years when since 40. And they were actually telling me that one of the former owners was a famous artist and that the whole house was painted. He was actually a fan of Forey's, and he had painted his own stuff all over the place. So they had to, you know, because you never know what people will want, they had to actually paint over it. But in the nursery, they did keep some of the art from that. So we'll be able to show you what the house would have looked like. But look at the natural lighting in here is amazing. It's a huge property, and like I said, not just that front room, every single wall of the house had either some famous piece of memorabilia or a framed picture. And I remember looking at the wall and finally just saying, wow, you're really into the bondage thing, aren't you? Because he had just tons of like framed pictures of women in, you know, tied up and things like that. And he goes, oh yeah, look at that art. That's kind of, Forey would approve of that. If you take that in, that's a naked woman there. Now, I was talking to Lionel, who got us in here, and he was saying he thought that this section out here had been added. And I think so too. I don't recall when I was here. I mean, it's been 25 years, but I don't recall this being out here. But it's an amazing view, and check this out. Look at some of the art that is on the outdoor fireplace. That actually made me really happy, you know, because you never want to see a place change, but change is inevitable. But hearing that Forrest Ackerman fans have purchased this house and then made it their artistic haven, I love that. So look at this view of the city you have up here. And then as I understand it, this is some of the art of one of the former owners. And if you look on the art inside the house as I show it to you, you'll notice that some of it's signed. So we can kind of figure out who one of the artists is. Now look at this. Once you go over here, he had a pool down there. So we'll go take a look at the pool. And then there's a yard over here and a stairwell that takes you all the way back into like a fire pit and stuff like that. So it's a pretty incredible property. I was trying to figure out what Forrest paid for it. I couldn't find that. But when it was for sale in 2017 and we came and vlogged it, they said it was for sale for like $2.5 million, and now it's up to $5 million or $5 million plus. So let's go in and meet Lionel. I'll introduce you to him and he can tell you a little bit more about the house and some of the photos he found. Now, oh, check this out. There's a photo of Forey sitting in a chair right here because you can see the stairwell over here in the background. I read, and I remember at the time he said he loved to have people here. He loved to give tours of the house. And I read at one time he had upwards of 180 people here at one time. Now there's a great photo also of him right here in this stairwell. And that was completely covered in pictures as well. And then in here in the dining room, he's put together a really interesting shadow box. Check this out. He's got an old photo I was telling you about of the property before the retaining wall. This is actually the front entrance that I showed you when I told you about the yellowish green shag carpeting. There it is. Here's the photo of Forrest in the stairwell I just showed you. Now, this is our friend Lionel who got us in here, and you've actually sold this place, so you have to now be a Forrest Ackerman fan.
I definitely am. I definitely am. And this is exactly why I put this together, because although the home's been renewed,
yeah,
we still want people to feel like the history of the Ackermansion is still very much alive, and we don't want to lose it. This was something very important for the community.
One of the things I mentioned outside that I love is I said, change is inevitable. So new owners coming in, they're going to change things, but knowing that a Forrest Ackerman fan at one point has owned this and put their own touches from being inspired by his magazines and things, that makes it even more special. It's even more of like an artistic haven. So
I agree wholeheartedly.
So unfortunately, I was telling him that you said you had to make that tough decision of, the house was uniquely painted and just, all over the place. You had to decide, in order to sell it, to kind of paint over it. But you said it was very unique art, like very colorful.
Very much, very unique. And actually, we still have some in the nursery upstairs that you'll be able to take a look at upstairs. That's also very unique, almost Dali-esque, but very cool. And I think Forey would have liked it too.
I think so too. Now, I was telling them that when I was here, he had a lot of pictures all over the walls. Forrest, when you see this property and you see all of the nooks and crannies of it and everything, I kind of wonder what kind of parties all went on here. Because I actually asked him, I remember saying like, wow, you're really into this stuff. And he like smiled and started laughing. This is a huge, look at this. This is the kitchen area. Look at all the amazing natural light. You actually have the, I guess you'd say the servant's back stairwell, or for the help. They could have went up this way to a doorway. But what's neat is if you look over here, you've got some of that art right up here. Actually, look at the light fixtures. Now look at this. So if you can imagine, stuff like this was painted all over the place. It's my kind of art. This is exactly the type of stuff I love. So we were actually talking about it and saying, you almost wish you would have done it in wallpaper, that somewhere down the line, someone else that buys this house 50 years from now peels the wallpaper off, 3 layers down and finds stuff. That would have been pretty cool. So wow, look at that. That is awesome. What a space. And then you have a really nice use of natural light right there that you can have your breakfast. I don't recall what this area looked like when I was here. Like I said, 25 years ago, the main thing that always stuck out in my head was just how much stuff he had. Even though they were cleaning it out, he had a guy here, I think his name was Joe. And Joe was saying, Forey took care of all of these articles and all these items his whole life. And now that he's older and in his final years, we look at it like it's time for Forey's acquisitions to take care of Forey. So that's why they were starting to sell things, but he had certain things he just couldn't part with. And so he ended up taking those to the new house. We'll go down there in a little while and we'll work our way outside. But I want to show you the master bedroom upstairs. And we'll go up that stairwell from the photo right here. Pretty odd that you have someone so nice that they would allow random visitors to show up to their house and tour their house and not have to worry about someone stealing things. He's a very nice, trusting guy. I know he told me Vincent, because I was a huge Vincent Price fan. I think I was wearing a Vincent Price shirt that day. And he said he's been here many times. Look at that art. I love it. Now look at this bedroom. I remember coming up here and I believe this was his master bedroom. They've confirmed that. Again, lots of women in leather, photos on the walls. Let's take a look at the view from the balcony. So much natural light. Imagine waking up to this. Takes you right into the bathroom. Had to go from the other door. But again, you get a nice balcony view of Los Angeles. So you can just imagine Forrest having guests here, looking out over the city. And the balcony's pretty big, actually. You can look down over here, over the other side. So let me show you the bathroom in the master. Here's the walk-in closet. I mentioned he's not only known for sci-fi, he coined the phrase sci-fi, and on his headstone it says, "Sci-fi was my high." He was coined as also being the first cosplayer, because when they had a convention, he created, it was called like a futuristica costume that he wore, and so they credited him as being like the inspiration for people dressing up in cosplay. Big, huge bathroom with a lot of natural light again. And he also believed, it was crazy, there was like a quasi-dead language that he was a big fan of. And I think at the time they were saying it was like, it could have been considered the second language of the world. And that only few people knew how to speak it. And he was one of them, and had formed like a secret society of friends that all learned how to speak it. And they would get together and they would have meetings and conversations in those. Because I forget who it was he said, but he said he remembered walking arm in arm down Hollywood Boulevard, having a conversation in that language with someone. Again, lots of natural light. And then check out this room. There's actually a hallway here that connects to another room, but this one has just an absolutely beautiful view out on the balcony. Got a big bed here. And then a nod to, I think that's a nod to Miles Davis, Birth of the Cool. What a property. Wow. The views are just incredible. Almost every side of the house has a balcony. Every bedroom has one. This actually right here would be facing the street where we entered. So here's the bathroom in here. Turn the lights on. Well, that top light's not coming on, but big shower. I think he said the current owner actually never planned on selling it, but just, life happens and you decide you want to live somewhere else or do something else. And so he said that, with it being the fact that he never intended on wanting to sell it, he had really made the place, there's a walk-in closet, he had really made the place his own. So it's a bummer that he had to paint over all that original artwork. I love the art, and I know that I've seen it. I've seen that style before, so I'm sure we'll figure out who it was. Oops. Check out this room.
That's really cool.
Yeah. My friend Rob came to visit this with us. Now check this out. This is the room, this is the nursery they decided to leave that he painted. So the whole house would have been done in various styles, but he said, I just thought Since it's a nursery, you know, I'll let the next owners decide what to do with it, but look how beautiful this stuff is. Like you've got a monkey down here swinging on there. Got a happy house. Yeah, I guess the owner is traveling, so they just not gonna keep it. You can tell even behind these beds there's more. I'd love to know what all's behind there. Very cool. That is so cool. We haven't even shown you the downstairs. One thing you notice, like every floor could be a different apartment almost. There's bathrooms for every bedroom. 2 of the 3 floors have kitchens on each floor. There's your shower. All right, now let's go downstairs to the basement. Well, the lower level. And then we'll go outside and show you the outside area. I'm happy to see that anything that they've done, they've kept at least like the original features, like that door. Look at that. I mean, this how old school is this door? Who is it? I mean, this would have been obviously before the retaining wall and that door out there. When you still had somebody, yeah, look at the knockers on that one. So I love that they kept anything that they've done. They've only made the place better. It's still in the vein of Forey Ackerman, the man who coined the term sci-fi. Yeah, when I was here, I remember him telling me, he's like, oh, everybody's been here. Bela Lugosi's been here. Vincent Price. He said, everybody on your shirt. And I was wearing a shirt that had Peter Cushing, Basil Rathbone, Vincent Price, and I forget, Christopher Lee maybe? And I remember him saying, everybody on your shirt's been here. So yeah, this is total. Look at how big this space is. You could live down here as well as the main floor. More art. More of that same type of art, because you can see the kind of the paint swooshes. Now, the thing I said to Lionel upstairs, obviously, was I said, you know, you got to get some ghost hunters in here. Forrest Ackerman had that many parties and things going on. There had to be some sort of activity if he had Dracula here, you know? Now check out this bedroom. What a view. You easily could have 2 families living here. Easily. And you can see down there, there's like one of those big ovens, outdoor ovens. Now, this one I kind of thought was interesting because I was telling you about the stories of the bondage and stuff. We saw this and we were like, what is this all about? So is this door that I saw this and I go, well, that's like a pantry, but for a guy who had a lot of bondage pictures and everything, this could have been like one of those kind of rooms as well. You don't know. Now look at this. Another bedroom back here. You've got doors everywhere, closets and, you know, storage and all that stuff. Now you've got a bedroom back here as well. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, this one's for you, Harlan Miller. All right, let's go outside. We'll share with you the insanely cool outdoor area. So this is the bottom of those stairs. When I showed you the mural on the ground, we were right at the top of those stairs looking down at the pool. Now we're gonna go down to the pool. Even here, there's like a nice sun bay area. This has definitely got to be one of the coolest properties I've ever seen. Ever. I mean, for as much utilization of everything around it, you can't beat that. Every side of the house that has light, they use the light with windows. Turned all the nooks and crannies of the property into something special. Like I said, when I heard or read that he had hosted upwards of 180 people showing him around his property, I remember thinking, how is that even possible? I know Los Angeles, and I don't know how anybody can even get land to where you could have that many people even able to be on the property. Well, when you see that it goes all the way down there, and that they have electrical boxes down there that you can do hookups for lights and different things. Go ahead and go down there and take a look. Actually, that's in pretty rough shape. We'll do it though. I'm sure it would be off limits if it wasn't safe, right? It's not like I have a wedding coming up that I need to have both legs for. Yeah, I don't know if I trust those stairs completely, so I'm gonna stop it here because they go all the way down. You can see down there. The reason I'm not going to do any more is because as I was walking on these kind of boards, they were moving around quite a bit. Started wandering looking for a way in, and I found myself under the house. And some old cushion, might have been Forey's cushion.
So the actual crawl space that you saw out there,
yeah.
If you look at the Huell Hauser, what was it? I think it was it PBS?
Yeah, California Gold probably.
Yeah, I think in there, they go with the camera and he's got like all this different memorabilia in there because it was spooky.
Yeah, making it a haunted attraction. You can see the footprints in the dirt and everything, so that's so cool.
Those could be Forey's.
This was a fun one. I'm honestly shocked. I can't believe after 25 years that I'm back in this house, but I'm glad, you know, I have a very good feeling because the people that have bought it since Forey and the hands that it's been in, they clearly have taken great care of it. And I just feel like that's probably like a good vibe over the house. So I have no doubt whoever gets it next will hopefully do the same thing and honor the memory of the people that have owned this house and just keep it being that, you know, special place and that special energy that I definitely felt while I was here. Rest in peace, Forrest J. Ackerman. Your Ackermansion is looking for a new custodian, a new steward to make sure and take care of it. I hope the right buyer is out there. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to the homeowner, whoever you are, for letting us in. You gave us permission to do this. That was very cool of you. Thank you. And if that was your art in the nursery, I loved it. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.